Tumfaklihu I tinjuhi kohoila tumfaklihu I tumfaklihu I tinjuhi kohoila tumfaklihu Tin tirna here juhi jundi pay attention to, here pay attention to listen. And then kohoi marks it as imperative, but I mean not like you must. Like there's a the imperative in lojban is flexible as far as its various sorts of in suggestion, exhortation, encouragement, or also commands are all inside of the sense of kohoi. So it's, I mean, but I do give you permission to pay attention to Tumfaklihu, but that's not really what I meant. I more meant that it would be a good idea, but I'm not like commanding you to. If I was commanding you to, then I would say like ko gahi tinjuhi. It makes it imperative, but gahi marks it as I'm a higher rank than you. I can order you this because I'm a higher rank than you. Gahi. Ko gahi tinjuhi. But that's not what I said. I just was like tinjuhi kohoi la tumfaklihu. So that's just like you could here's an idea of what to do. Okay, we gotta learn how to, let's say, go to the store, right? Let's learn how to say go to the store. This is a sentence from Terry Goes to the Big City. It's one of the oldest stories written in Lojban. It's a story about a tiger named Terry who goes to a city. Shale sherni la teris mohu klama le pa zarci noi sestuzi le corbi belle chadu. Lechadu, the city that Terry is visiting. La Teris, I mean, it's Terry. You put an S at the end sometimes. So Terry is Teris. La Teris mohu klama. That's the verb is klama, to go, and mohu means like the completion of it. It's finished getting it. So not just like he was going there, but he's finished getting there. He's arrived. Mohu klama. Le pa zarci, the one store. The store noi, which sistuzi is situated. Le corbi, the edge. Belechadu, of the city. Le corbi belechadu, the edge of the city. Sistuzi le corbi belechadu is what the zarci is. It's situated at the edge of the city. So he mohu klama le par zarci. He finishes. He gets to the one market that's at the edge of the city, and shale sherni in the morning. Shale sherni la teris mohu klama le pa zarci noi sestuzi le corbi belechadu. Bisrihe means glacier. Bis from beastly ice, and rihe from rirhe, river. Bisrihe.
La snime blabi. Nio pozuku, shalodun ramidju, falonur lo snime, taito allopimlo, shosharo e filozanike, lon oltroniho, shozutse, nehalo shanku, noise corbi, lochekri mudrikuho, giefenso.
I just thought you should hear anybody's voice except for mine. That was Danmo Rozgu long ago reading something called La Snime Blabi, the snow white, the white snow. Puzuku long ago, Shalodun Ramiju in the middle of the winter. Fao, which the Fao tags an event, but it's like in the form of this event. This Lonu Lo Snime, the event of the snow. Taituha Lopimlu, in as something of a feather. Shu Sharvi is falling. Filotzani from the sky. K that closes off the new from earlier. Lo notru nihu, null from nobly, noble. Notru turni govern nihu nin mu woman. So queen. Notru nihu shuzutse sits nehaloshanko by the window noisekorbi, which is at the edge of lo chekri mudri, which has as its edge lo chekri mudri black wood kuho gihefenso and sows. So in the middle of the winter, the faulunulas nimetai to halopim lo shishar fifilotzani. The snow is falling from the sky like feather, and the queen sits nehaloshanko by the window, nosikor bilo chekri mudri, a window which the edge of it is black wood, gihefenso and sows.
Lasnime blabi. Nio pozuku, shalodunra midju, falonur lo snime, taito allopimlo, shosharo filozanike, lo noltroniho, shozutse, nehaloshanku, noise korbi, lo chekri mudrikuho, gihefenso.
This next example is from Varik. Varik said, Shumki falonula Varik shujuno, Shumki possible. Falonu is, it's possible that this event, La Varik Shujuno, Varik knows. Varik always refers to Varik in the third person, which is totally cool. You can refer to yourself however you want. Lojban is a land of freedom and possibility, where you can call yourself whatever you want or talk however you want, and people will be cool. I mean, unless you go to the wrong corner of Lojbanistan. If you go somewhere in Lojbanistan and people aren't cool, you're in the wrong place, because there totally are cool places now. Ishumpki falanu la Varik shujuno. Maybe Varik knew whatever they were. I didn't even look what they were talking about, but maybe Varik knew about it. This next example is from Zhensha, from the new Zhensha. There was a Zhensha years and years ago, but this is from La Zhensha Pohu La Zhenra, the Zhensha who's also Zhenra. Zhensha says, Mi zohu lo lojbo shunandu. As for me, Lojbanic things are hard. Imi zohu lo lojbo shunandu. I just was informed that chehe, this having to do with this forum in which we are communicating now, is in Faha. It's lo shmavo b'mahoy Faha, a shmavo in the Faha, selmaho. I didn't realize, because that makes sense, because it's to replace boohoo, so it's also in Faha, like boohoo is in Faha. I guess I get it. Okay. Here's a recent thing that Nonselshme said. Nonselshme said, Idomelbi se voksa zaha. Zaha, I observe. Voksa is a voice, but to se voksa is to have a voice. There's something which voksa you. The verb is to be the voice of. And so it voksa you, so do se voksa. You are voiced, and domelbi se voksa, you are beautifully voiced. You have a beautiful voice. Idomelbi se voksa zaha is what non-selshme said. Non-selshme is non like no, none. Selshme named. The ashmene is a name, and so the selshme is the one who's named or would be named, except non-sershme means not named. So I don't know if non-sershme is non-sershme's name, or if they're non-sershme. A little of both, I think. Okay, I remembered what happened exactly. Was that originally there was only two rafsi for lojbo, lob and jbo. And now I think that lob should be the rafsi of lojbo, and jbo should be the rafsi of jbobo. That makes sense. And then Naftug was the one who thought of having Bob be the third Rafsi for it to take it over the top. And then all I did was think of that since Naftug thought of it being Bob, I thought of that being short for Bhobsho. So I'm mostly innocent. This is an old example sentence invented by L. L said as an example, Lo migerku shujersi lo bolshi. My dog chases the ball. Lo migerku shujersi lo bolshi. Here's an example from Nipsrilaha. I chudo puzukte lo nudo lodosfofa shuplipe beziho gihebabo farlu kemuha. Ichu, that makes it a question. Chu makes it a question. Dopu zukte, you did something. You zukte is to do something volitionally, to do a thing. Lo nu do lodo sofa, an event of you to your sofa. Shu plipe beziho. Plipe means to leap onto something, except that beziho puts ziho into the place of the thing that you leap to. So he's not. So saying plipe beziho means like leaping, but not like the leaping with like a place to, but just like, you know, jumping, because you're just jumping on the sofa, not like jump. He means like jumping on the sofa, not like jumping to a place. Lunudo lodosvofa shu plipe beziho. Gihe and Babbo afterwards, Farlu fall, K Muha. Muha marks that the K closes off the event that started with Nu all the way back at Zukdelonu. The K closes it off, and then Muha marks it as an example. Is that an example of what? So it's a question. Who? The Puzukte Lonudo Lodos fofa shuplipe beziho gihe babo farluke muha. Did you do it so that you onto the sofa were leaping and fell, for example? I chudo puzukte lunudo lodos fofa shuplipe beziho gihe babo farluke muha. Lojban articles can be so confusing these days, but you know what's not confusing at all? Rihoi. Rihoi is the friendliest article. It just goes back to the most recent thing that's the thing you describe. Like this example sentence says Rihoi Bangu. This language, and so it goes back to the language that they were talking about. That language with the angels' language, where the angels speak and sing out of 7 mouths at once. So then, since that was the language that was just mentioned, then you can just refer back to it as Rihoi Bangu, and it means, you know, that one you just mentioned, the angel one that you just mentioned, that one. Ilotavla befo rihoi bangu, a speaker, someone who talks in this language that was mentioned. Shusimoklu zeda is mouthed by 7 things. This is from L. L said this. That's ELL. L said, Ilotavla befo rihoi bangu shusimoklu zeda. So there are 7 things that moklu them. That's a verb meaning to be a mouth of. So they're simoklu, they have mouths, and 7 things are mouths that they have. Shusimoklu zeda. Ilotavla befo rihoi bangu shusimoklu zeda. Ilotavla befo rihoi bangu shusimoklu zeda. This next example is from Lalhu. Her name is Lalhu Lake. Lake said, Iti hedai shnino itkuhile, ikoha zabna barda, ikuhi wu rohe lo finti goje, shu chlafri jatatpi, zaha pofinti koha. Itihadai snino itkuhile. This is about the new ithquil, and the word for ithquil in Lojban is itkuhile. That's what we call ithquil, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I only know how to pronounce its name in Lojban. Itkuhile. Snino, it's new. Tihadai. So tiha is I hear this, and tihadai is like someone other than me hears this. You hear it. You're hearing it right now is because it's the news. Is itihadai snino itkuhile. You hear there's a new ithquil. From me saying this is what that seems to me to say. And then koha zabna barda. It doesn't specifically assign koha, but obviously koha is the new ithquil. Koha zabna barda. It's good. It's zabna means goodly, nicely, awesomely. It's the opposite of mabla is zabna. So it's sort of like a positive swear. Koha zabna barda ikuhi, but wu rohe, compassion on a mental level. Lofinti goija, the inventor, let's call them J, ja. Lofinti goija, shu chlafri, has a bad experience. Chlali bad, free, leaf free experience. Chlafri has a bad experience. Jatatbi has a bad experience and or is tired. Chlafri jatatbi zaha, I observe, pofinti koha. So they have a bad experience or are tired about inventing koha. Koha being the new itquil. Yeah. Iti hedais nino itkuhile. Ikoha zabna barda ikuhi wu rohe lofinti goije. Shu chlafri jatat bizaha pofinti koha. Kachi means turned on, activated, operational for its function. And ganda means turned off, deactivated, not performing its function. So you can gandagao something, turn it on, and turn it off, gandagao, and turn it on, kachagao. Me kachagao loterguhi, I turned on the light. This example is from Tumfaklihu. They were talking about basically wrote in a pen and pencil store. There's the like an art supplies store. There's a place to write to try out the pens. So basically wrote TO LOJBAN you on that thing, and then Tumfaklihu is responding about that, and then Tumfaklihu says is I mi jiha misagautoi lojbobau buhulopen bi zarci imitahe shihasku lu ehoko shilre fi la lojban lihu. I mi jiha, me too, misagautoi, try to, that's I think Tumfaklihu probably improvised that. I don't know that word. It means to try to get famous, to try to make famous. Mis no famous, gao gasnu do, and toi troshi, try. Famous do try. Try to make famous. Misagautoi lojbobau lojban buhu at lopenbi zarci, a pen store. Imitahe, tahe makes something like it's like a habitual case. It's a thing you do, not case, the thing with the mood or whatever. It makes it so it's something you do all the time. You didn't just do it one time, but it's a thing that you do. You are a doer of it, like in general. Imitahe shihasku. So this is what he usually writes. Shihasku, shiska, to write something. Shiska, shiha, and sku, to say a sentence. Skuna, sku stands for skuna, and shus stands for shusku, and that's the same thing with lojbo and shbobo. Shusku is the original word, But at one point somebody got sick of saying shoo shoo sku all the time, and they were like, you know what would be a nice word for say is skuna. That could be what goes with sku. And there's so shoo is shoo sku, and sku is skuna, which means the same thing. So you can say shoo sku or skuna, whichever you like. So I think of the sku at the end of this as going to skuna, but it could stand for shusku, and it doesn't matter which one it stands for because they both mean to say something to someone. Shihasku, right say. And then there's a lulihu quote, and inside the quote it says, Eho, recommend, or request, Eho, I request, ko, you, shire, learn, fi, about, la, Lojban, and use the old-fashioned Lojban word, presumably so people can look at it, because if you said Shbobao, they would just be like, this is foreign, but if you say Lojban, they could see that word and know what you're talking about. And Lojban is kind of the exonym now. When we're talking about it in Lojban, we say Shbobao, if not something weirder like Shbobobao or Shbobobobao or La Mahamelbao is a thing I invented to call Lojban, which means our beautiful language. La Mahamelbao. But what people who don't speak Lojban call it is just Lojban. They're not going to learn a bunch of words for our silly language, so they just know the old name Lojban. So you can still say Lojban in Lojban, of course, but it sounds the most like outsidery and old-fashioned because it's the one that people who don't speak Lojban know. Okay, so I also try to make famous Lojban at a pen store. Miziha misgao toi lojboba buhulo pen bizarshi. I usually write, I request that you learn about Lojban. Mitahe shihaskulu eho koshilre fila Lojban lihu. Imiziha misgao toi lojboba buhulo pen bizarshi. Imitahe shihaskulu Ehoko shildre fi la Lojban lihu. Gugtehuha, Ukrainian. That's in the news, so you might need to use that. Gugtehuha. A while ago, someone thought up a system to make like country and language codes. There's the ISO country and language codes. And they made up a system to make, from all of them, we have country and language names for all of the things, including Ukraine, Gugtehuha. Okay, Misagautoi is in the dictionary already. It says, like, advertise, promote. Yeah, famous do try. Misagautoi, advertise, promote, yeah. Since long ago, a very popular poetry form in Lojban is haiku. And so the word for haiku in Lojban is pemshir haiku. The haiku is Lojbanized as haiku, and then that would be two words, chai and ku. But so there's various ways that you can make it into a proper verbally shaped verb, and in this case it's the original traditional Fahivla system where you take a category. That's helpful because then you can know what category the word is, and this is a kind of poem, so pemshi poem, and then you take off the last vowel in pemshi and replace it with an R, so pemshur, which is that works for putting together words because it's always easy to one of the ways you can say R all different ways. I probably say it even more ways than are allowed, sorry, but there's a whole list of ways you're allowed to say R, and one of them is to go so if you're allowed to go and then then you can, it's hardly even like a consonant, so it counts as a consonant as far as it definitely sticks together into a word, and with a bunch of crunchy consonants like M, C, R, X, that's nothing Lujvo like or anything, so there you go. But you can still say it because you can say the R like if you need to go pemshur haiku. haiku. You can also, there's also there's little is in between the, if you could go haiku with little is in between all of it, so you never have to say any consonant cluster. There's always a secret little I in there that you can use if you need it. But haiku, I never had too much trouble with that one. It just seems like such a crunchy word but the crunchiness of it means that it doesn't count as a lojban, it counts as a huhifla, and you can tell by the pemsh that's a kind of poem. Pemsh haiku. I got you an old haiku from this is by Jorges years ago. Jorges invented half of lojban. He didn't invent what exact, he thought of ideas of how to use lojban and ideas of how to interpret the rules of lojban so that it would actually work, which was a huge part of making lojban actually happen. And he wrote this haiku. Apparently, according to, I searched for Pemshir haiku to find you a Pemshir haiku, and here's one. It goes, Vifne shergusni, ile trishu shuklaku, leshlani shtino. Leshlani shtino, the long shadows. Shtino, shadow. Shlani, long. Letrishu shuklaku, the trees cry the long shadows. So that's a metaphor, I suppose. Iletrishu shuklaku leshlani stino. And then the first line is vifne, fresh, shergusni, morning light. Sher from sherni, morning. Gusni, light. Fresh morning light. Vifne shergusni. Vifne shergusni. Ile trishu shuklaku leshlani shtino. Okay, here's a tip about learning lojban. The very most important thing you can do to learn lojban is to have conversations in lojban. I mean, like if your goal is to have conversations in lojban, you need to practice having conversations in lojban. So that's what you should do. And you should go to Rolls Raguha and look out for a channel called Sampu Poho. Poho means only this thing, and Sampu means simple. So Sampu Poho means only simple. And if you go there, it will not all be simple, but people will be more often trying to be as simple as they can. So that will be helpful. And then you might think you'll once you learn a little more lojban, you'll learn some words like kiha. I'm confused about this word, and you might think it might be good and useful for you to say kiha. And when you're trying to learn from people. Democracy, as in the idea of people, representative democracy, people choosing representatives. Kahir trusiho, because kahi krati, representative, true, govern, siho, sidbo. Kahir trusiho, representative democracy. So you might think that if you learned kiha, I am confused about this word, you might think it's useful. Like if you didn't understand what pemshi means when someone says pemshi to you, you might think that it might be useful to say pemshi kiha, and it might be, give it a try. But what you'll find is if you are speaking lojban to someone and you say pemshi kiha, then they will explain to you what that means in lojban. Like they'll start saying like lo pemshi shuv valsi. A poem is a word sequence, art, and blah blah blah. So if you want an answer in English, you should go to some place called school. Look for a place called schule, and go there and say, hi, what does pemshi mean? And then what will happen is someone will answer you and tell you, oh, pemshi means poem. And then they will start to get into, after they've given you the answer, they will start to get into a philosophical conversation about what exactly is a poem? And is pemshi exactly equivalent to the English word poem? Or what are some specific differences? And they'll talk about it for like half an hour. But you just, as soon as someone gives you the answer that you actually wanted, someone's like, oh, it means poem. Then be like, okay, great, thanks, and then go and then just leave you don't feel like you have to pay attention to them discussing the whatever philosophical ideas your question brings up, because the simplest little question about lojban, everyone will be like, wow, what is a pemshi? That is quite a question. But all right, so all right, what you do is you just go to Sampu Poho. So there's all these simple things, and be like, Shai, imitavla folosh bobal. Hello, I can speak English, okay? Imitavla folosh bobal. And then people will talk to you and be nice to you and say stuff that's way too complex. And if you want, you can try saying kiha and wanai and stuff, and then they will explain to you in Lojban. Or just go to somewhere where you can ask in English and ask people, what does this mean, please? And they'll helpfully explain it to you, and then helpfully over-explain it to you. This example is from Lalchu. Lalchu said, Iminahozan fri pojuche sampu dansu. I characteristically enjoy zanfri, have a good experience of pojuche sampu, awkwardly and simply dansu. I usually enjoy to awkwardly and simply dance. Iminahozan fri pojuche sampu dansu. There's both tahe, which is habitually is a translation of it, and naho, which is translated as like characteristically. But how I'm sure people think about this in slightly different ways, but the way I think about it is, if you just say that something happened, you're mostly talking about like it just happening once or multiple times maybe. But if you say tahe about how it happened, then that's like there were a bunch of times of it happening, and it's like a thing that happens. It's not like I'm saying, like, if I say mi klama zarci, then I go to the market, like, happened at all. It happened once, maybe it happened multiple times. But if I say mi tahe klama zarci, then it's a thing that I do. I go to the market. But then if you say Chudo naho klama zarci, is what the way you are typically going to the market? Well, no, I mean, I'm not always going to the market. I'm usually doing other things. It's just a thing that happens sometimes. So, but when there's so sometimes maybe, so that it's not like there's just one time when Lalchu enjoyed awkwardly and simply dancing sampu dansu. And it wasn't just that it was a habit for a while, or happened to happen in a sequence for a while. It's just, that's what usually happens when that sort of dancing happens. What happens to Lalchu is that Lalchu enjoys it, zanfries it. Iminaho zanfri pojuche sampu dansu. Ish bobo, fanosh bonobo, winai, uhanai, jbobo. Those Bannock are no bonobo monkeys. Jbonobo. Winai, that's sad. Uhanai, that is the opposite of a gain, a loss. That is a loss. That is unfortunate. Uhanai, too bad, it's a loss. Ijbobo, fanosh bonobo, winai, uhanai, izabna, fapojbobo, fasuj bonobo, dahi shai. It would be zabna, awesome, if there was a bonobo monkey who spoke Lojban. Zabna, fapoj bobo, fasuj bonobo, dahi sai, like suhoi, some bonobo. Izabna, fapoj bobo, fasuj bonobo, dahi shai, which is extremely hypothetical. Dahi shai should not only be dahi sai. I can imagine it enough. Let's bring it down to dahi sai. Maybe it's just dahi re. Now that there's But re doesn't rhyme as well as much. So let's leave it at least psi so that it rhymes. Ijbobo, fanoj panobo, winai, uhanai, izabna, fa pojbobo, fa suj panobo, dahisai, panta fa tau su zmiboto. A robot has interfered. Ijbobo fasuj panobo. Wait, how's the song go? Ijbobo fanoj panobo. Winai uhanai izabna fa pojbobo fasuj bonobo dahisai sire. The dictionary that I would recommend right now is called Lida Sisku. Lead from Lindy Lightning Sisku Search. Lightning Search. You can get to Lida Sisku at sisku.org. 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 That is a good place to look up Lojban words these days. It's fast, unlike some other dictionaries might be slow for you. So try out Lida Sisku. It's by Lalchu mostly, but also apparently with some contributions from Lot Kerlo. So thanks Lalchu, thanks Lot Kerlo, and it's also... I asked Lalchu, the colors are very pretty, and so I asked Lalchu where the colors came from, and Lalchu said that she used randoma11y.com that makes random color schemes, and did that until it made a good one. It's very pretty, and I just noticed today that I was looking at the code and I noticed that there's a dark mode. There's a little sun in the upper right, and if you click that, it goes to the dark mode. Yay! Lida Sisku at sisku.org. Tonkalari is a good word. Sunny sky, colliery, open. It's kind of like an architectural word, I guess, because it's about like a building. If there isn't a roof and it's open to the sky, then it's tonkalari. The cute new word for monster is monsuta from Tokipona. You can also still say she's dahu from she's strange. Dahu danu animal, strange animal. So that means monster, I guess. Okay, a strange animal. But it's more fun to say monsuta. And then I made another word out of monsuta, which is the word for Munster cheese. I call Munster cheese monsuta ze shirla. That's ze puts together, and you can take any two words and put them together into another word using ze. Monsuta ze shirla. Monster cheese is what I call Munster cheese. Mi jimpre, I mi jimpre, jeshu jimpe, jeshu daspo gasno. I jimpre is from jim metal, pre new person, metal person. A metal person, jimpre, is not just a robot, but the kind of robot that goes like, I am a robot, destroy, I am a humanoid but boxy shaped robot that will destroy. And daspo gasno means daspo means destroy, and gasnu is the usual word for do, but gasno is to go along with how there's an O on the end of daspo. Imi jimpre, jeshu jimpe, jeshu daspo gasno. Jimpe means to understand. If your native language is English, watch out, because you will say the a at the end of jimpe like a. And if you say jimpe, then that means jim, metal, pay, think, pensy, pay, pay. You want pay, not pay. Jimpe. So you should extend the ends of the words a little and pay attention to which vowel you're saying, and say it like with some cool Lojbani tone, like Jimpe, Jimpe, Jimpe. When you don't know what you're going to say next, the original traditional thing to say is and so that works. But there's a specific word too. Yaho. Yaho means I'm not done talking. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say next, which is like you can say when you're all kinds of different confused, but yaho specifically means I'm definitely still speaking, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. So that's what I say when I'm thinking about, when I'm like, how am I going to say this? Yaho. That's what it means to me. And then you can make a word from that, yahonmo, which means is a verb that means like to not know how you were going to say something and be thinking about how you were going to say something while still holding the floor, is what it means to yahonmo. There's also a word that's about thinking about things, or thinking what you're going to say, or thinking about something that you're talking about, which is the word khum. But khum, xm, is a shmevla. So I mean, it's a name word. Shmene, name, vla, valsi, word. A name word. So you can just use xm as it's sort of like So people use as a word. It's a fine word because it's a syllabic m. So the consonant is kha, and then the vowel is There, so that's a good word. But the problem is it's a name. So you gotta make. I mean, you don't have to. We're not really. You can say anytime you want, and nobody's gonna care. But I'm just explaining to you in terms of an idea of how Lojban grammar works. Is that's a shmevla, and so since it's a shmevla, then there are certain places you can put it. Like you can say doi that addresses the statement to which is a thing that we would traditionally do, which is there is an idea that and so forth are jboshe lojbanic divinities. Jbo, jbobo, lojbanic shevni divinities, jboshe, and then when you say doi, you're it's like making what you're saying a little prayer to a deity presumably ruling over figuring things out that you are thinking about that you are saying. Okay, so the boring way, if you want to say you remember something, is there's baha, is to expect something in the future, or to think it will happen in the future for some reason, baha. So then there's baha nai, the opposite of expect in the future. So expect in the past. But then, so that's fine. That works. You can still say that. And then also, some cooler, more specific words are, one of them is vehi. Vehi means that you vedli, or remember experiencing something. So here's an example of vehi from Ilmen. Ilmen was talking about Solpahi and said, Isha lohenu mi johu ra barduku kansihu shushasnu baloj bobau kupoho vehi. He remembers that the shasnu baloj bobaku poho, they discussed in Lojban only. Lajbobaku poho, only Lojban. Isha lohenu, so during the typical event of Shalohenu, Mi Johu Ra, and Sopahi was mentioned earlier, and based on the context is what Ra goes back to. Ra just goes back a ways and finds something to refer to. Mi Johu Ra, Barduku Chess, Kansihu, accompanied each other. Shushasnu, Barduku Kansihu, Shu. Well, they were, doesn't kansihu mean with assist? I'm not sure. Kansihu. Shu shasnu baolosh bobao kupoho vehi. So while me Johura, me and him were playing chess. We discussed in Lojban only. They, he, I remember experiencing. I don't just remember like having heard it. I remember because I was there. Isha lohenu mi Johura barduku kansihu. Shushasnu bauloj bobau kupoho vehi. Okay, right. Kansa, to accompany someone doing something. Sihu, simhu, to do something mutually. Kansihu, to mutually accompany one another in doing something. Yeah, I knew that. Kansihu. Nitpiki is a cool new word that means to nitpick, to criticize inconsequential flaws. X1 criticizes an inconsequential flaw, X2 in X3. So, nitpiki, it's a little nitpiki, but what does johu mean? Well, johu is it normal? I told you before, I lied and said you can always use je for and. But if you think about it, je is a kind of and that means logically that both of the things that you're jeing together both do the thing. So if we're talking about playing chess together, barduku kansihu, if I say mi je do barduku kansihu, then what I'm saying is I accompany in playing chess, and also separately you accompany in playing chess. And it doesn't like say how that accompanying playing chess is something that we do together. We have to both be doing it together in order for there to even be the mutually accompanying kansihu. So that's why you use johu, a different word that puts together mi johu do into a thing. Now mi johu do is one referent, and it's not like I do it and you do it. Only the referent that does it is mi johu do, a referent made up of you and me. Okay, so then we put both of us together, mi johu do barduku kansihu. Now what's doing the chess mutually accompanying is the me and you together. So that makes sense. A me and you together can mutually accompany. So that makes sense. But again, it's very nitpicky. Someone is nitpicky if they're worrying about whether you use je or johu, but just, it's a logical language and stuff. So technically, that's what. Mi johu do was a funny example to use because you don't even have to use johu for that. There's a special word for it, miho. Miho is me, you and me put together and talked about that as one thing. But, if you're connecting something else other than me and do, then you need a johu. Kumfa means room. Kumfa, here's an example of kumfa. They were talking about a word saumna, which apparently means samhain, but they were trying to figure out what it means, and so basically thought it sounded like sauna, so basically said laha lo glare jar gapshi kumfa shohe. Probably a hot glare, jaur steam, water, air. Jaur is from Jashu, and so Jau from Jashu, water. Jaur steam, kumfa, room, shohe. Probably a hot steam room something. Anyway, I think it means sauna, but it doesn't apparently. But for sauna is sauna, and apparently sauna means samhain, I guess. Laha lo grade jar gapshi kumfa shohe. So kumfa just means room, physically, actually a room. a room in structure X2 surrounded by partitions, walls, ceiling, floor X3. It is a room because it is surrounded by walls and floors and ceilings and stuff. A room. So a chat room, we don't really do that analogy. If you called a chat room a kumfapeha, metaphorically a room, that would, I guess, be understood, but that's not, we don't really use any metaphor to describe a chat room. The way we describe a chat room is as a velsku. That's veshusku, or veskuna, a medium of communication. To shusku is to the X1, says the X2 to the X3 through the X4, through the velsku. So that's what we say, a medium of communication, just literally that. No metaphors about rooms. And if you say kumfa, that's going to be talking about literally a room with a floor and walls and stuff. Like lahaloglare jargapshi kumfashohe. Bolshi means ball. Dajbu means okay. Dajbu. X1 is okay, alright, acceptable to X2 by standard X3. X2 thinks that X1 is okay. Dajbu. If you're looking for a word for war, you might look in the dictionary and be like, oh, I guess it's the word for war. Jamna, it's close, but jamna means like to war. So it's more like carry out a military campaign. X1 wars against X2 about X3. So a jamna is when to jamna is to carry out a military campaign attempting to achieve a military objective. So what you mean when you say war, you should say nun jamna, an event of people carrying out military campaigns, because that's the war is various jamna, various militaries are jamna attempting to achieve various objectives, and the whole thing is a nun jamna. In general, you can put nun for nu, making an event, but you can say lo nu jamna using the word nu, but then you have nu is cool because it makes a verb out of a whole sentence. There's all things like nu or yisuhu is general, makes it into some whatever kind of abstraction, but nu makes it specifically an event. Whatever that is, ask different people, you might get different ideas of exactly what an event means, but anyway, it's more that it's the nun jamna, the event of warring, and nun jamna makes it into a verb. So then if you just say lo nun jamna, then you don't have to terminate the nu with a k because it's inside of the word. So it gets terminated inside of the word, and it doesn't leak out and require a k outside. So that's convenient to make a little word nun jamna. It is pretty much the same as if you say lo nu jamna k, the event of people waging out military campaigns. Various people, they're trying to jamna, jiha, win, jinga, so war win. To war win something, X1 conquers X2 from X3 in their war over X4. You jiha, capture territory, dominate, win the war is what you're trying to do. And there's this is a cute jam word, brabra jamblo, battleship, big warship, brabra jamblo. See, even when talking about nun jamna lojban, it's still a cute language where a battleship is called a brabra jamblo. Here, I'll use it in a sentence for you. Yee! klama fallo brabra jamblo. Eek, a battleship is coming. Yee, klama fallo brabra jamblo. I beshnu zoheko palo kagnisho merko 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 merko. Merko means American as in United States related. Specifically, the other sorts of American have other words like Bemro means North American. So that's not as easily confused with Merko, United Statesian, and then the whole Americas is called Bemjoicho, because the South America is Quechua, so Bem for Bemro, Joicho, Quechua, Bemjoicho. And so the song goes is Vishnu sells Zohe something ko to you, follow Kagni, a company, Kagni Shomerko, which is American, and then I add more Americos. The American sort of American sort of American sort of United Statesian sort of United Statesian. Merko, 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 Merko. I Vishnu zoheko follow Kagni Shomerko. Merko, 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 Merko. Well, suppose you are speaking in this Lojban thing and you want to talk about carrots. You are in luck. Wow, you have come to the right place. The boring word for carrot is najgenja, orange root, from narju, orange, genja root, najgenja. But then you've got so many other choices. You can call it a wortelle, that means carrot, or you can call it a cahorta, that also means carrot, or you can call it a porcana, that means carrot, or you can call it a gulrota, that means carrot. There's also the word morkova, that means carrot. You can say carrot ze spati. That's something you could say for a carrot plant. Or you could say genjerdauko, or you could just say gejerdauko. So that's, I mean, the real word is najgenja, but those are if you're writing a poem about carrots, you've got so many choices. Bolshi means ball. Here, I'll say it like a bouncing ball to help you remember. Bolshi, 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 bolshi. Here's a good word I just learned. Famsku means to conclude your remarks. To famsku. I'm a famsku right now because the episode is ending right about now, so I'm a famsku. The famsku concludes by saying the sefamsku, that's what I'm saying now, is this is the sefamsku, to an audience, that's you, the tefamsku, you're a tefamsku right now, via expressive medium, the Tumfaklihu, concluding this episode of Tumfaklihu. I don't know. I'm just learning it now. Famsku. That makes sense to say concluding remarks. Fam, fanmo, sku, skuna, to end say. I'm end saying now. Mi famsku, de, do, la Tumfaklihu. Shoho snakarnajuhi, by snakarnajuhi, sound journal attenders. Sna sanche, sound, karni, journal, juhi, jundi, attenders. Sound journal attenders, shoho, snakarnu juhi, imi dobrami, I love you. Imi do prami. I do melbi. You are beautiful. I do melbi. Shohodo.